Yamaha Motor Corporation. In 1957, Yamaha came up with twin-cylinder 250cc YD1, which again was another Japanese copy of another German motorcycle. The Adler, or German for Eagle, was created 4 years earlier and was known under Adler MB250. Despite that, YD1 was so successful that independent distributors such as Cooper's Motors started selling Yamaha bikes in North America in 1958. 1959 became an important year for Yamaha as it came up with YDS1 that had beefed up version of YD1 engine mounted on double cradle frame, which was new and revolutionary approach back in the day. This change set the pattern for the next 20 years of fast two-stroke Yamaha twins. A year later, in 1960, Yamaha International Corporation officially began selling motorcycles in the USA, along with the other independent dealers. In 1964, Phil Reed gives Yamaha its first ever World Championship in 250cc class, which came as a shock to Honda that dominated 125cc and 250cc classes since 1959. 2 years later, in 1966, Yamaha launches YDS3 that was the first motorcycle to really capture love and attention of American public. For the next few years, it is Yamaha that, more than any other company, forces the four-stroke competition out of Grand Prix racing despite Honda's victory on four-stroke machine in 1966 and 67. In 1968, Yamaha releases DT1 Enduro, which was arguably the world's first ever dual-sport motorcycle. 1970s have become living a dream moment in history for Yamaha. So let's go through all of their accomplishments. In 1970, Yamaha produces the XS1, its first 4-stroke 650 vertical twin model. In 1973, Kenny Roberts won AMA Grand National Championship using 650cc twin on dirt and 2-stroke 350cc twin on road courses. The same year, middleweight parallel twin 2-stroke RD350 motorcycle was released, which stood out due to its immense power of 35 horsepower to the wheel. In 1975, Yamaha pioneers the very first single-shock production motocross bikes. The same year, Giacomo Agostini brings the first 500cc World Championship. The next year, the legendary XT500 trail bike saw the world, which won the Paris-Dakar Rally race in its 4th year of production. In 1977, Yamaha Motor Corporation USA was founded in order to keep musical instruments and motorized vehicles separate. In 1978, Yamaha introduces 4-cylinder XS 1100 and later the same year its first cruiser XS 650 Special. In 78, 79, and 80, Kenny Roberts won 500cc World Championship. In 1979, Yamaha Induction Control System was introduced, which was essentially a fuel-saving system for 4-stroke engines. In 80s, Yamaha introduced Virago 750, which was the first air-cooled V-twin cruiser. 1984 became very special for Yamaha as it introduced RZV 500, which was a race replica for the street, FZ 750, the first 5-valve per cylinder motorcycle. In 84, 86, and 88, Eddie Lawson won 500cc World Championship on Yamahas. In 1985, Yamaha launched VMAX 1200 muscle bike that would stay in production for about the next 20 years. In 87, Yamaha introduced X-Up system that would regulate back pressure on models such as FZR 600, 750, and 1000 for a wider mid-range power band. In 90s, Yamaha continued its successful march. In 1990, 91, and 92, Wayne Rainey takes 500cc World Championship. Throughout mid-90s, Yamaha introduced 1300cc V4 Royal Star and fuel-injected GTS 1000. Yet it was too expensive for it didn't get much public attention. In 1998, Yamaha YZF-R1 is introduced as well as YZ400F. Now, YZ400F was a 4-stroke motocross bike that allowed Doug Henry to win AMA Motocross Championship. Once YZ400F was introduced to the public and was later known under the name of WR400, 426, and 450, it effectively put an end to 250cc 2-stroke bikes. In 1999, YZF-R6 saw the world. Throughout the 2000s, Yamaha was concentrating on updating already existing models, such as equipping the R1 and R6 with a fuel injection, Yamaha chip control throttle, and intake. They also added slipper clutch to their race models, as well as redesigned the R1 by adding a cross-plane crankshaft. In late 2000s, Yamaha introduced small WR250X as a small rising segment of supermotos. In 2011, Yamaha introduced Adventure Tourer Super Tenere. In 2015, Yamaha totally redesigned and introduced the new revolutionary R1 and R1M that featured the most updated electronics, magnesium parts, as well as race-ready suspension components. Also, it introduced Yamaha R3 in order to beat the competition from Honda CBR 250R and Kawasaki Ninja 300.